The Deadlights eyes.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I'll play again.
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Killer Mom.
I'm just gonna bash you.
What's blood for? If not for shedding.
Welcome to 31 Days of Horror Movies. I am your host, Sam Johnston. Back with me, we got Allison for a film that's right up your alley. One of those few horror movies that I know you love.
Yeah, completely.
Completely. Yeah, so today we watched Society from 1989, directed by Brian Yuzna and written by Zeph E. Daniel and Rick Fry. An ordinary teenage boy discovers his family is part of a gruesome orgy cult for the social elite. This movie is almost like a weird after-school special.
Yes,
like
that's very
it's almost like really bad. Well, it is like really bad.
It
is really bad for like the first hour and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems so. And I even said it. I was like, this was a year after Child's Play, which I watched yesterday, but it looked like it was made at least 3 years before.
Yeah. It's got that like classic, I feel like it stopped in the 80s, but that like glowy, like where everyone looks perfect and the light's just so soft and glowy.
Yes.
And it looked like, I think it was on purpose because it was filmed in the 80s, like it's fine, but it does have all of those, like it's like stunted, bad dialogue, and it's all like dream-esque, and it's very like, all right, unrealistic, like very just like no real people would interact in this way.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes in this movie to figure out, is that a dream sequence? Did that really happen? And a lot of the times too, for the main character Bill, they're kind of gaslighting him saying like, yeah, you are paranoid, you are dreaming, this is in your head.
The word paranoid ticked down 7 times in this film.
They said it so many times. Yeah. And it's like, okay, if you're saying paranoid this many times...
There's gaslighting. There's gonna be...
Yeah. And this movie starts immediately with Bill coming into his house. And I wrote down dream sequence. Yeah. Because I assumed we're in a dream sequence, how they were shooting it. All the cameras were just like super oblique. And the lighting, like you said, it was at night, but everything seemed to have this weird sitcom-y, soap opera-y haze around them.
I wrote down Telltale Heart, like Edgar Allan Poe. There's the thumping and there's like whispering, and it's very like panic-inducing.
Paranoia-inducing.
Both times he picks up a knife, he grabs it blade first and puts his hand around the sharp end of the blade.
Yet another example of people doing just such strange things where you're like, are you real? And that's, again, why in this first moment I was like, this has to be a dream. Then we're in his therapist's office.
In that scene particularly, was watching, surprise, The Psychologist.
Sure.
And I kept noticing, like, how unprofessional his tactics were. And at first you're like, okay, I know too much of the background of how it should be, so it's just a film, they got it wrong, whatever. But then I continued to notice, like, he really plays into this psychosis. Like, he really is trying to egg him into, like, oh, are you afraid? Like, what's happening? And it's, like, it gets more and more unprofessional to the point of, like, he kind of takes over the sessions to egg Billy in a certain direction. Of, like, this is where your mind is. This is what you should focus on. This is how your life is. Instead of, like, working out the problems. Which was interesting.
Which only makes sense as we learn more about that character too, and everything else that's going on around him. How is this therapist using Billy in this moment? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out. Maybe we don't.
I think that the therapist belongs to the society in general, but skipping forward a little tiny bit, when he gives him the tape, I was like, this man is employed by your family. Like, he's not a third party. So I think even if the therapist might not have his own intentions, he's run by the whole society. Yeah. Like, he's a puppet in himself.
Finally, our introduction essentially to Billy in his house. We have Billy playing basketball with his friend. Milo. His name Milo. And they're blue suits. Then we're introduced to his sister, who pretty much is telling him to get rid of Blanchard, who's her ex-boyfriend. And then we kind of switch perspectives to her, and it's like this very voyeuristic
Yes.
scene, which kind of makes sense because someone is watching her. We find out. I don't even know why he's there. Why Blanchard is there. I know that they
to talk to her about like what's going on. Because I think he already had an inkling about. He's like, I just got to talk to you. There's been weird stuff going on. Like
yeah, because it didn't seem like a we just
but, like
up.
tackling someone to the floor and covering their mouth. Like
bad.
It's not like hey, friendly chat.
Bad tactic, I think, to begin with.
Yeah.
But okay.
No, I'm wrong. Sorry, she lost her earring. He mic'd her earring. Remember, it was in the closet. He mic'd her earring.
Yes.
He grabbed it and did that.
Very
That's
true.
Why.
You're right. You're right. Yes, that comes back later. Yes. But I think you're right, though. I mean, clearly, he's bugging her earring. He has some sort of inkling of what's going on. And I would then assume that Blanchard is in a different social class than they are.
Yes.
Maybe she dated down or whatever.
I don't know anything about cars, but look at the cars. He drives like a construction van. And it's blue and it's dented and it's like just... And then everyone else is out driving Range Rovers.
Yeah, like super
like,
nice,
right.
expensive.
Okay.
This is the night of her coming out party. Or this is the day of her coming out party. She's about to enter society. She's about to contribute to society. And this is our first introduction to his parents, too. Who are very distant and they don't care about him at all.
I said disconnected speech with no empathy and lacks all emotion.
It's like they ask him a question and right before he can even finish answering, they just turn away. Ah, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
They immediately both are very touchy towards her.
Yes.
Both of them. And it's like one shot is of them, the blondes of the family, and then Bill on the other side. It's a very clear separation of...
An enmeshment of...
And they're standing up a couple stairs, and he's standing below them. Again, they are looking down on him pretty much the whole movie.
Is it like for the sport? Like, do they know that when he turns 18 or whatever, 17, 18, like...
It could be that they've just been drawing this out this whole time. Because
the judge makes it seem like, you did such a great job, like, what a roles you've played, you've done everything you needed to. Like, it's not like one day they woke up and they're like, he's the black sheep.
Yeah.
Like, it's not...
So it kind of does seem like them just...
like snatching babies out of middle-class hospitals.
Right. Where did he come from? And they're playing these, like, really long... teasing, taunting kind of games with what they think of as lower people. So it's almost like just them fucking around with the lower class people just because they can.
Because they can.
It's for the thrill of the hunt. It's not even the kill at the end. It's just for the thrill of the hunt.
Yes.
Maybe that's also part of why they shot it this way, because it is kind of this like dreamy kind of drama that maybe that's how the elite view themselves. We're in this beautiful show.
It's a melodrama.
It is. We're all in a melodrama.
The girl that turns out to be like good in the end.
Clarissa.
She even speaks like that. Everything she says is like, "Oh no, I don't like you. I love you."
I love
it's
you.
Very like
Oh, okay. Well, and that's why I thought, because I couldn't remember what happened fully at the end, the explanation. I thought, okay, I think they are aliens. Because it seems like maybe aliens...
These are all things that I wrote down that are like alien, out of this world, some kind of... And, I mean, aliens just foreign, so...
Yeah.
A separation of class.
True.
Yeah.
True. And if they came here, too, if these aliens came to Earth, I think that they would think of themselves above us, because they, like, we made time, or space travel, and y'all are just stuck on this rock. And yeah, it seems like very rehearsed. Like maybe on their ride over here, they only were able to watch soap operas. And they're like, this is how humans talk.
This is right.
This is accurate. Yeah. First kind of indication of we're going to get some weird body horror stuff going on, where he's going into his sister's shower to get the suntan lotion.
Yeah.
Which, it's a big house, man. I feel like there's other suntan lotion in there. But anyway, he goes in and he's like...
Her body's twisted.
Yeah, it's like her torso is the opposite way.
Distortion, yeah.
But we only see it through like the foggy glass, so we don't really see it. And then he opens up the the door and she's normal. Bill and his girlfriend at the beach, and this kind of establishes his girlfriend's intentions. She, I don't think, is in
She's
society.
a ladder climber.
She's a ladder climber.
That's her whole...
Yeah, because she's not there.
All her motivations.
She never shows up to any of the parties. She wants to be invited to the parties.
Mm-hmm.
She's not at the shunting at the end. You're right. She's definitely a social climber. She wants to be with Billy because she knows who his family is and who he's connected to. She wants him to go and try to convince Ted Ferguson to invite him to the party. And even in the scenes when he's like actually like concerned about himself and people dying and stuff like that, all she's asking about is, wait, so you're saying that we can't go to Ted Ferguson's party? Like,
and he's even like, is that all you think about? And she just is like, well, maybe we shouldn't be together then if you can't get access to these things.
Bill is approached by Blanchard. He's like, I gotta show you something. I gotta show you this thing. And he's like, hey man, you're a creep. You're in my sister's room. He's like, no, I gotta show you something real. And he shows him the tape, and it's like really just clearly incestual. Like the dad and mom and sister all talking about, first you do with some people your age, and then with some older crowd, and we'll jump in there.
I didn't write it down. They said first we something.
First we eat, then we copulate.
Yeah.
And where does he take it? He takes it to the therapist. Billy, you can trust me.
Yeah.
You can bring it tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, which was almost like, why is he giving them the option to keep, like, hold on to it?
That kind of seems like a tactic to make him trust him even more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to take it from you.
I guess, yeah.
Therefore, you can trust me with it. Therefore, you can give it to me and trust me. The tape was been switched, like, I can dance with anybody.
Yeah.
First we'll eat, then we'll dance.
Yeah.
And in that scene, the therapist, I wrote down his line. I thought it was really interesting because he's pissed off at Billy. He's like, you are like breaking the rules of society, and you need to get yourself together. And he says, people make the rules and people follow the rules. It's all a matter of where you were born. Billy, this whole movie, it seems like they're kind of taunting him with being part of society and being part of it. But he never seems like he ever really even wants to be part of that. He's like legitimately concerned about what's going on. What is happening right now? And people are dying around us and no one seems to care. But then we go to Ted Ferguson's party because it's a banging time. And I just wrote down 80s all the way. He sees Clarissa for the second time.
She's very Siren-esque. Like, there's even a shot, again, with that kind of lighting, where, like, he's, like, got that dumb, like, mesmerized look, and he kind of, like, is pulled towards her.
And she's just standing there.
Yeah.
She's not, like, even, like, trying to be coy about it. She's just... She's a beacon.
Yeah.
She really does feel like a siren, like a magnet that he's just
yeah.
being drawn towards. She like seems to know a good amount about him, and he's like kind of joking with her. He's like, "You know my mom's maiden name too?" And then she goes, "Real or adopted?"
Yeah, that one.
And I was like, "What? How would you know that? Or was that a joke? Or?" Yeah, that was my first inkling of, okay, she's part of whatever's going on. Yeah, and they go back to her place, which there's this whole sex scene between them, and she says, "You're so fresh."
Yeah.
Right before they start having sex.
Yeah.
Try running now, she says.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Right.
We should be running before? Creepy scene of, I wrote down parent massage sesh in bedroom. Yeah. Where he, like, in the morning,
I'm sorry, did that not happen with your family? Did you not grow up like, we gotta go to school. Wait. Massage train. In our room. Come on, kids.
With kissing, and also mom is in lingerie, too.
Yeah. Yep.
On the silk bed, and...
You're like, okay.
All the lights are red. It's like, so... And he immediately comes in, he's like, what's going on here?
Why?
He knows it's weird. Again, this is the second time that we hear you're going to make great contributions to society. I think the dad says it, or the mom says it. But this is kind of like, Bill is at his wit's end at this point. He's like, fuck you, butthead. He goes...
Clarissa's first, and then she's like, don't go home. And then he goes home, and then the medics show up, and they collar him and put
They
him
do
on
the
the
dog.
stretcher.
They put him on the
Yeah.
stretcher.
And it's the second time the therapist says something about, he says, like, I really hate drugging you.
I really hate
And
giving
you're
you
like,
drugs.
and you're like,
As he's sticking a needle in his
Yeah.
arm.
is he alive? Is he dead? Is that his body on the stretcher? Is that
And
once
then,
they get to the hospital?
Yeah, and then, because Milo's trying to find him. There was a shot of like all the stuff, all the drugs he was on, and all the stuff that was hooked up to him or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of stuff. Like there was an enema something.
Yeah.
And
I don't
like
remember what
I can't ever. I just saw enema. I was
It
like,
was
oh god. Billy's attitude after this scene is super weird.
It's the weirdest, like, cocky, egotistical.
I was like, dude, like after you just got noosed around your neck,
like,
snatched,
yeah.
drugs in your arm, taken to the hospital with your parents like literally standing over you. You're feeling this good? And he shows up at home, and it mirrors the first scene where he walks into the front door. We get that crazy oblique shot of him coming in. Goes to the kitchen. He's hearing,
grabs a knife.
grabs
like
the
this,
knife.
But then this time we have blood.
Yeah, he like is pushing it, like his thumb on the blade, making it bleed. And he's hearing these whispers again all around him. And eventually his parents show up, and it turns out he wasn't alone the whole time.
Yeah.
Turn
Right,
on the
Actors
lights.
Guild situation where everyone
Yeah.
just shows up.
Ah, we did
Nice
it!
performance. Very lovely performance. Yeah.
Great job, everyone. Great job. There's some sort of rhyme that they do where it's like it's for the thrill of the hunt, and it's also we're gonna shunt. Something like that.
Of that effect, yeah.
And we're at that point, for people who've never seen this before, they're like, what's the shunt? What's that entail? And then we start pretty much getting to the shunt.
Which a shunt is something that like drains spinal fluid.
Really?
So I couldn't figure out if it was just like we picked this word and that's what it'll be. But if you get a shunt, it's to like if you have excess cranial fluid.
So we bring back in Blanchard, who we now realize is alive. And he is our main victim of the shunt. And everyone is like taking off their clothes, and they rip off all of his clothes, and everyone starts getting really goopy and really sweaty. And
Is there any class commentary in Frankenstein? There was a lot of like when they're in the hospital, there was a stretcher and it looked very Frankenstein to me. And then when Blanchard comes in, he still has the like cloth over his face and he's very like stumbly through. And I just like I don't have a connection there, but I didn't know if there was anything or if it was just a throwback to other classic horror.
Thinking about it in that way, it's almost like Dr. Frankenstein views himself as more than human, I think, because he's trying to make life, and he eventually does. He creates life out of nothing.
Yeah.
He creates a monster, yeah. These people, too, obviously view themselves as more than human. And their monsters that they're creating they're copulating. They're making more of themselves by consuming people and using them. And I guess kind of in the same way that Dr. Frankenstein used pieces of other people to make the Frankenstein monster, they use pieces of other people to make more of themselves. Everyone's super jellied up at this point, and people start sucking on them.
Yeah.
And then that's when we get the first, like, okay, people's mouths are like attached to his body. And like
very like Beetlejuice-esque. Do you know there are those one
and it's almost there's a couple times in this last sequence when it's like comical. How they're being stretched.
It is, yeah.
And
it's like this grotesqueness of like they're in a comedy, but it's so sick at the same time. And it's very like there's a dissonance in how you're supposed to feel because you're like, they're laughing, but like I want to throw up.
Right.
Like it's very.
They're laughing constantly. And that's what makes it even more terrifying that they're loving it. They are really, really loving this stuff. Judge, the meat's tender enough for you. And he's like, okay, here we go. Cigar in his mouth the whole time.
Wet, drippy, like
super gross, old, lumpy man. And just not the guy you want to see coming at you naked. Really not. And wet. And then he says something, he like gets super close.
Start from the bottom or something like that.
Let's get to the bottom.
Fucking-
Let's get to the bottom.
Yeah.
And then hand just
Yeah.
right up.
Then out.
Right, and then out the mouth. Yeah, just so, like, that is like a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely nightmarish. But it's like, at the same time, I can feel like someone would watch that and laugh out loud. And people are forming into each other. People are sucking out eyeballs. And
That one got me. The eyeball. And then they pass it between a couple of people's
Yeah.
mouths. And I was
Yeah.
like, ooh, yep.
Goes upstairs, because that's a smart move.
Yeah.
Bad move.
Further the plot. I know. But I was like,
Yeah,
right there.
the filmmakers were like, we need to see some more crazy body stuff. So let's go put you in your parents' room.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, mom stands up.
I don't know why. I think those like distortions were the grossest to me. The parents. Like the blob downstairs was like stomach churning, but then theirs for some reason really.
Was it because of the actual physical morph, or also the fact that they were his parents?
I think it was a little of both.
And they were like
it's
forming
just,
into
like,
each other.
Yeah, and they were
All together.
enmeshed.
Enmeshed. Yeah, the
Yeah.
mom had the dad's arms as her
Mm-hmm.
legs.
Yeah.
And then
The daughter, like
the daughter was also somewhere in there. I don't know where.
yeah,
And then the dad.
and then the dad's a butt.
He's literally
like,
a
I'm a butthead.
I guess I am a butthead.
Yeah,
I'm actually not really sure how he got himself into a duel with Ted Ferguson.
I think they just are like in this corner. Like I think they
just started.
automatically are.
It was like, this is like the pre-entertainment.
It's a game. It's just
More
more
of
of
a
a
game.
game. Yeah.
And Ted Ferguson, man, kicking his ass.
Yeah.
He knows karate.
Yeah.
He legitimately does like a roundhouse kick to start it off.
He seems invincible. Like nothing's landing.
None
None of Billy's punches are landing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even when he's punching him in the stomach, he's like,
Yeah, it's fine.
what are you doing? But then Ted starts to like kiss him, or he's like trying to suck him out, I guess. But then he somehow stops him, and we get another. Billy winds up and let's get to the bottom.
Yeah.
Gets to his bottom
Uh-huh.
through the eyes. Eye pop
Grabs
out
everything.
and grabs everything and just
Pulls him inside out.
pulls him inside out. Kind of like Billy going against what their societal norms are, is putting everything inside out, turning everything on its head.
Yeah.
And what is head filled with? A bunch of worms.
Yep.
Just a bunch of gross ass maggots, worms. Again, this like sluggy.
Which is like, I don't know why, but that is one of the, like, not even necessarily just for me, but I feel like maggots in general are just one, even if like you don't mind gore, you don't mind like just that writhing, like that's one of the like most stomach sickening things.
People
like
hate
it was
that.
perfectly matched to the
People
personality.
hate that. Yeah, maggots. You're right, especially. He punches.
run away,
He
jump
punches
in
Dad
the
in the
Jeep.
face. Jump in his Jeep.
I'm a little disappointed we didn't just get like a.
At the end, though,
Like
definitely
in the Jeep?
Milo was like, "Woohoo!
Yeah.
Let's go!"
Mhm.
I expected him a little bit to do.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted that, and then freeze frame on that.
That would have been very.
That would have been epic. And then they drive off, and
And then I said, "What?"
And then we all said, "What?" And then the last shot of the movie is back inside, and the judge is like, "Well, I think I might have an opening in DC for you."
Yeah.
Bump, 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 dun, 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 dun. Society.
Yes.
1989. Do you want to plug our sponsors?
Barf
bags again.
Barf bags. Honestly, yeah. Could have used one of those.
Barf bags.
Barf bags. Barf bags really.
Thank you again, Barf Bags, for everything that you do holding our barf. And you can find me at Beep Beep Richie T on Instagram, and also check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we're shooting this at. But until literally tomorrow, let's get spooky, Allison. Ooh, the shunting.